Welcome to Interfaith Action for Human Rights. Human Rights at the Prison Door, Reimagining Criminal Justice Celebration. Let's give a warm welcome to our host this evening, Black Information Network anchor, Madeline Woods.
Welcome, everybody, and hello from Interfaith Action for Human Rights. This is the 2021 third annual Human Rights at the Prison Doors celebration. My name is Madeline Woods, and I'm your host for this evening. Now, we thought that we were this close to getting together in person this year, but life happens. And here we are, safe and apart, but still united for this incredible event. So let's get into it. Tonight, we're celebrating our friends and supporters who have made it their mission to change hearts and minds about incarcerated individuals, and they're focused on building cultural momentum for prison reform nationwide. Tonight's honorees are compassionate people. They're dedicated to the proposition that every human being has value. Every human being is entitled to life, respect, and dignity. So tonight we pause to recognize all that is good and pure and noble about this organization and the people who make it strong and proud. We're going to open this evening now with a prayer from the Reverend Maybelle Taylor Bennett.
Thank you, Madeline, and greetings to all of the awardees and the participants of today's event. Let us take a moment of silence and then let us pray. Holy One, we give you thanks for life and for making us all in your image and after your likeness. We ask your blessings upon this gathering of workers in your vineyard of social justice. We thank you for giving them the compassion, stamina, and resourcefulness to fight for those most vulnerable to and most likely to be victimized by injustice. We are grateful for their resilience when most of the time they find themselves having to make a way out of no way to confront institutional intransigence, political protectionism, individual fears, and political indifference. Strengthen today's awardees and all assembled here who are expressions of your presence. Allow us all to remain channels for the flow through of your love to the special communities we serve who reside within and are affected by correctional systems. Let the examples and efforts of those acknowledged here today be multiplied exponentially and allow the policies, facilities, and culture we create to correct harms done reflect the humane, respectful, and rehabilitative culture you would wish for your beloved. This we ask in the name of the one source of all that is. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And thank you, Reverend Maybelle Taylor. Now, if we were together, we would all have a program where we could read the bios. So because I didn't get a chance to do that at the top of the show, I just want to tell you a little bit about Reverend Maybelle Taylor. She is the pastor of Covenant Christian Community and a recently retired Howard University administrator. Reverend Maybelle is a former member of the IAHR Board of Directors and a current member of the IAHR Board of Advisors. Reverend Bennett is also one of the correspondents who writes to incarcerated individuals of the Federal Bureau of Prisons as part of IAHR's Pen Pal program. Now, since 2008, Reverend Maybelle has engaged with members of Seekers Church and other faith communities in a group known as Sacred Conversations on Race and Diversity. These conversations build understanding and trust and opportunities to work and worship together among members from diverse racial, ethnic, gender orientation, and lifestyle backgrounds. They have one goal, and that is to heal the widening divisions among the people in this country. So again, Reverend Maybelle, thank you so much for blessing us with your words. All right, guys, now I want to get into this evening, and I'd like to introduce you now to Rabbi Chuck Feinberg. He's the leader of our organization, the executive director of Interfaith Action for Human Rights. Now, Rabbi Feinberg was a congregational rabbi for 42 years. He served and led congregations in Wisconsin, New York, British Columbia, and right here in Washington, D.C. During his career, Rabbi Feinberg worked as an advocate for Central American refugees, the poor, and the homeless, for interfaith dialogue and cooperation, and for respecting the human rights of both Palestinians and Israelis. Rabbi Feinberg recently concluded his 6th year as executive director of IAHR, and he joins us now for a look back at what IAHR accomplished during the past year.
Welcome to Interfaith Action for Human Rights' 3rd annual Human Rights at the Prison Door event. This past year has been a year full of growth and challenges. During the program, you'll be hearing more about some of our specific projects and some of our accomplishments as well. During this last year, the IAHR board revised its mission statement and added a vision of a criminal justice system whose mandate would be to rehabilitate and heal incarcerated people instead of just punishing them. Influenced by the death of the late George Floyd and its aftermath, the board realized that abusive practices of the police are no different than the abusive practices of correctional officers. We need to rebuild criminal justice so that its practitioners turn away from punishing only those who commit crimes, to instead providing them opportunities to heal mentally, physically, and spiritually. While the board remains committed to ending the abuse of prolonged isolation or solitary confinement, it realizes that we need as well to inspire faith communities and the public to reimagine how we can help people who have committed serious crimes. In order to begin to realize this vision, the board created a strategic plan for the next 2 years. One of the goals of the plan is to expand the professional staff so that we can work more intensively and creatively in Maryland, the district, and Virginia. The board is very enthusiastic and committed to changing how criminal justice is practiced in the DMV. You'll be hearing more about these plans a little later in the program. Finally, it has been a great honor for me to be the executive director of IAHR for the last 6.5 years. I am so very grateful to have worked with such outstanding volunteers and supporters, some of whom we are honoring this evening. At the same time, I realize that I am not getting any younger, and that in order to grow, IAHR could use younger and more creative leadership. In order to facilitate this growth, I announced to the board that I will be retiring from IAHR at the end of 2022. It has been so satisfying to help found this organization and to lead it since 2015. In the words of the psalmist, "May the sweetness of the Lord be upon you. May God establish the work of your hands. May the work of your hands be established." Thank you very much.
Amen. From your mouth to God's ears. Thank you so much, Rabbi Feinberg. And you can't go. We're not going to let you go. So just forget about that. Now, I have the pleasure now to introduce you to the chair of the IAHR Board of Directors. My friend Kimberly Jenkins Snodgrass. It's only been 5 years since Kimberly joined IAHR as a board member. And since then, she served 2 terms as vice chair, and now she's completing her 2nd and final term as chair of the IAHR Board of Directors. And what a way to go out. Kimberly is also chair of tonight's event. And without question, she's a tireless advocate for justice and civil and human rights. Kimberly has traveled the country with the late Texas justice warrior Joyce Ann Brown, fighting wrongful things that she's experienced in Virginia's broken justice system. She's experienced that firsthand with the wrongful incarceration of her son, Kevin D. Snodgrass Jr. Now, Kimberly's faith in the system was lost, and her story is one that far too many American families know so well, and that strengthened her It strengthened her resolve to work for equality for everyone. And I say this and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce you to the unconquerable Kimberly Jenkins Snodgrass. Hey, Kimberly.
Thank you, Madeline. We at IAHR envision a societal system of corrections free of racism and rehabilitative rather than punitive. This evening, along with honoring our heroes, we echo the voices of incarcerated individuals who are isolated, serving time in solitary confinement. The United States spends $182 billion per year on mass incarceration. This includes 3,000 jails, 1,900 state and federal prisons that cost taxpayers $85 billion per year, according to Forbes EQ. The Virginia Department of Correction annual budget is $1.3 billion. Solitary confinement costs 2 to 4 times as much to maintain compared to the cost maintaining incarcerated individuals in the general population of the prison. In 2022, Virginia must pass an oversight bill and end solitary confinement. My motivation to end solitary confinement is personal. In 2007, my son, Kevin D. Snodgrass Jr., was wrongfully incarcerated in Virginia for first-degree murder. Kevin's case is a non-DNA case. Non-DNA cases are the most difficult cases to overturn on appeal. The average cost is $350,000 per case. While fighting Kevin's appeal, he was placed in solitary confinement in Virginia in 2013. The Virginia Department of Corrections gave my son a document stating he would stay in solitary until 2020. Note that I didn't redact this document on purpose. Kevin served 4 consecutive years in solitary confinement. While Kevin was in solitary confinement, he could no longer have contact visits with his children and family members. I was mentally caged, held in solitary confinement with my son. In 2017, Kevin was released from solitary confinement. I could see the toll that this inhumane practice had taken on my son. I'll never forget when I finally hugged Kevin. I felt his body shiver because he had not been touched in 4 years and had no body scent. While happy to see his family, Kevin was clearly uncomfortable. The parking space accommodations, inadequate food, no electronics, and no contact visit had taken its toll. Extended placement in isolation weakens one's immune system and increases contact with guards who themselves may be infected. Virginia Department of Corrections cannot be allowed to continue to use solitary confinement as a prison management tool. This is why I fight. In the upcoming 2022 Virginia General Assembly session, both the state and House have an opportunity to end an era of Virginia Department of Corrections submitting inflated impact statements to kill common sense legislation that offers real criminal justice. There can be no criminal justice reform without prison reform. IAHR and the Virginia Coalition on Solitary Confinement are poised to return in 2022 with a solitary confinement bill that effectively ends prolonged isolation for adults and juveniles in Virginia state prisons. Like the rabbi, the time has come for me to move on. I joined IAHR in 2016 as a board member. I then served 2 terms as vice chair, and this year, on December the 31st, I will complete my 2nd term as chair. My mother always said, know when to exit the room. Thank you to all of my IAHR family. It's been real and a tremendous blast. I love you dearly. I thank you for trusting me to be your first African-American vice chair and chair. I hope you guys enjoy the evening. God bless and thank you.
Oh my gosh. So we're losing Rabbi Feinberg and Kimberly? Oh my gosh. Kimberly, I have to say congratulations on all that you've accomplished in your time with IAHR. And thank you for everything that you do in the name of justice for your family and for everyone else. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, guys, now we're getting into the time that we've all been waiting for is the presentation of awards. And our first presenter for the evening is also a member of the Interfaith Action for Human Rights Board of Directors. John Stirk is a native Washingtonian. He's a 40-year career attorney in the District of Columbia, and he's a professorial lecturer at the George Washington University Law School. So let me say hello, John. Good evening. Come on up and join us.
Interfaith Action for Human Rights is proud to present Human Rights Awards to Arnold & Porter and Rights Behind Bars. At IAHR's request, these two firms represent two incarcerated people in lawsuits against Virginia correctional officers. Both victims were brutally attacked by VDOC dogs while in prison, and both suffered grievous injuries. So far, Arnold & Porter lawyers have collectively contributed, pro bono, many hundreds of hours to these cases, and the firm itself has spent tens of thousands of dollars for litigation costs. Rights Behind Bars, a prisoner's rights specialty law firm, has contributed its time and expertise. We hope that this path-breaking litigation will achieve justice and will bring this archaic, sadistic practice to an end. Accepting these awards are the leaders of the litigation team, John Friedman, an Arnold & Porter partner and a senior pro bono counsel, and Oren Nimni, litigation director of Rights Behind Bars.
Thank you, John. And I want to thank, on behalf of Arnold & Porter, the Interfaith Action for Human Rights and its team that brought us this case. John and Gay brought us a fully developed case, developed through Gay's correspondence with hundreds of Virginia prisoners, was able to detect the pattern at issue here. She identified a dozen prisoners who had been mauled by dogs in the way our clients were. And because of all the work that IAHR did, we were able to bring a suit, which we were vigorously litigating. It's our hope through the litigation that we can identify other individuals who are similarly impacted by this practice, and that by shining a light on what's going on in Virginia prisons will bring an end to the use of police dogs in the prisons. So I want to thank IAHR for the recognition and the partnership in this matter.
Well, we thank you, John. We thank you so much, John, and congratulations to both you and Oren Nimni, your colleague who you work together with to do all of these great things. Thank you both so much. Our next presentation now comes from Ed Koff. He's the treasurer of Interfaith Action for Human Rights. Ed's going to share some of the work that's on tap for IAHR and how it's planning to improve the lives of incarcerated people in our region, as well as the lives of their families and communities. And in his role as treasurer, I'm sure Ed's going to let you know how you can support IAHR to help those things, those plans, a reality. Hey, Ed.
Good evening. I'm Ed Koff, treasurer of Interfaith Action for Human Rights. We try never to forget that all of the progress we've made in Maryland, Virginia, and DC in recent years, progress that has tangibly touched the lives of so many incarcerated people, their families, and their communities, that progress was only possible because of your financial support of IAHR. As the end of the year comes into sight, we still have much work to do and still need to raise $50,000 to fund this year's work. Tonight is a key opportunity to meet that need. We hope to raise at least $20,000. Our board is pitching in. We hope you will help us meet our goal so that our work can continue as we prepare for the important 2022 legislative sessions and much more. It's easy. Just go to our website at interfaithactionhr.org and hit donate. I'm also excited to announce that IAHR has set a goal over the next 3 years to double the staff and other resources we commit to ending solitary confinement and other forms of torture in our prisons and jails. With these resources, our aspirational goal is to finally end these practices in our region by 2025. We also plan to use these additional capabilities to begin the urgent process of education and legislation to change correction systems in Virginia, D.C., and Maryland from punitive and inhumane to centers of rehabilitation, return, and reintegration. We will be sharing these plans and asking for your participation in this 3-year campaign in the coming months. Let me thank you in advance for your help tonight and in the future in moving these critical initiatives forward.
Thank you so much, Ed. As always, it's a pleasure to see you. Now, we do have another guest joining us now. He's from For Rights Behind Bars. Please help me welcome Oren Ninmi. Hey, Oren, come on in and talk to us.
Hi there, and thank you to IAHR and everyone for this program and for this award. We're truly honored to accept it. We do work in prisons across the country, and as anyone that does work in prisons knows, the community is small. People that care about these issues and people inside are deeply compassionate and caring, and I have never met a community that is so closely knit and so compassionate as the people at IAHR. It's been a true honor to work with them, with you all on the cases challenging dog bites in the Virginia correctional system. And we hope that this is the start of a wonderful relationship because there's a lot of work to be done. So thank you again for this honor on behalf of myself and the entire team at Rights Behind Bars, myself and Kelly Jo Popkin and all the lawyers on the litigation. So thank you.
Thank you as well, Oren. So grateful for the work that you do, for all of your support every year, and congratulations. Okay, we're going to get back on track now. We are actually halfway through our program for the evening, and it's time to present the Virginia Hero Award. Now, here to do the honors, we have Delegate Patrick Hope. He's a member of Virginia's General Assembly from the 47th District of the Commonwealth. He's on his 6th term now and currently serves as chair of the House Public and Safety Committee. He sits on the House Health, Welfare, and Institutions Committee and the House Courts of Justice Committee. Delegate Hope is one of Virginia's first legislators to shine a light on solitary confinement, and he penned legislation to end it. He's visited Virginia's Supermax facilities, Red Onion, and Wallens Ridge state prisons. So, hey, Delegate Hope, it's always good to see you. We'd love for you to join us live now.
Thank you so much. It's very good to see you too. And thank you to IAHR and this opportunity. It's a distinct honor and privilege for me today to recognize one of your awardees, John Horsch. I have known John for more than a decade. He is a tireless advocate committed to helping the very least among us. As he may best be known, he is the founder of Social Action Linking Together, or also known as SALT, an organization that he started in 1983, dedicated to helping the poor, those incarcerated and homeless, embracing the principle that the justice of a society can be measured by how the most vulnerable members of that society are faring and being treated. That is who John is to his core. Over the years, he has demonstrated a firm commitment to improving the lives of others through service and advocacy. And don't let his demeanor or his stature fool you. He is very convincing and very effective. John, we have so much more work to do, and I can't imagine the progress that we've made would have even been possible without you and your great organization skills. It is therefore my honor to recognize and present John Horsch as one of IAHR's Human Rights Heroes Award. John?
It's been the honor of a lifetime to be part of this journey with Delegate Hope and the Interfaith Action for Human Rights and our many partners. We know that the work of our advocacy is only just beginning, and we're looking forward to continuing our shared efforts to bend that great arc of the moral university of the moral universe in the direction of justice, and doing it together. Through your powerful advocacy, we stand with you, and with your commitment to empower those who have been denied a place at the policy-making table. And together we will continue to fight to end the torture of prolonged solitary confinement and to end the private prison practice of putting shareholders' profits above the rehabilitation needs of persons in Virginia, or prisoners in Virginia in particular. So in short, we know that your past should not define your future. And we also know that it's all about rehabilitation, not torture. And I am incredibly proud of the work that we're doing. And in closing, please remember what we know from experience. And it's this, that the few votes in the Senate or the House can do far more to help or hurt a cause than anything an individual can do. And now here it is, a most beautiful award. With gratitude and appreciation, I receive it and will always treasure it. So let's keep up the great work we're doing together. Let's keep advocating, and let's keep creating a greater Virginia together. Thank you so much.
That was great, John. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your hard work. And what a beautiful award. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And listen, hello to your cheering section back there. We heard you. Thanks for your support too, just as important. Congratulations to John and all of our awardees tonight. Now, we're going to keep the program moving. Our next presenter is attorney Arnie Podgorski. Now, Arnie is an attorney in private practice here in Washington, D.C. He's the past president of Adas Israel Congregation. He says he supports IAHR because it seeks to improve justice in our society. And what could be more important? In Arnie's words, we all know that an interfaith organization is best suited to comprehend that God created each of us and that none of us should be subjected to the extreme emotional pain of solitary confinement. He says it's high time that we reassess the goals of incarceration and eliminate practices that we know in our hearts to be unjust, practices that lower self-esteem and are prone to increase anger and resentment. And we couldn't agree more. So again, here we go. Let me introduce you to Arnie Podgorski.
Interfaith Action for Human Rights deserves our admiration and highest regard. It's an honor to support the organization. Others may speak of the organization's wonderful efforts and achievements, but I'd like to emphasize that its participants are people of faith, and its functions are faith-based. There's an infinite debate in our society about whether religion is a plus or a minus. The answer to that query, or the infinite sub-queries it might engender, would pull me far beyond my capabilities. But when it comes to considering how others should be treated, religious precepts urge us to believe that all God's children deserve dignity and love, and that when we deny that dignity and love, we diminish ourselves. And so, while some non-religious but ethical people would consider the treatment of prisoners a worthy cause, it's no accident that this organization is faith-based. That it is interfaith is a bonus, as participants of different faiths, by exposure to each other, learn what we have in common, and those differences that we have only serve to strengthen us.
Well, thank you, Arnie. He said what he had to say and he was gone. Congratulations to you, and thank you for all the support that you give us. We're going to keep moving now. I was just reflecting on some of the words that Arnie was saying. And, you know, God says that to those who gather together in my name, I shall be among you. And you can feel the spirit when we work together here at IAHR. You can feel the divine intervention and support that we get from our Most High as we work to right the wrongs and provide justice for all. So congratulations to you again, Arnie. Our next presenter is June Kress. She's been an IAHR board member since 2016, and she leads the organization's fundraising efforts. June spent 35 years working in the justice reform space as an academic, senior policy analyst to the Department of Justice, and as the executive director of the Council for Court Excellence. That's a nonprofit organization based here in Washington, D.C. Now, she's currently serving as the consultant to the nonprofit community on governance and succession planning. And she's a certified leadership coach. Wow, June, you do it all. We're going to take a moment now and hear from June. Thank you so much, June, on all the work you do on behalf of IAHR.
Thank you, Madeline, for that generous introduction. Now it is my distinct honor to present IAHR's second Human Rights Hero Award to the Honorable Carl A. Racine and the Office of the Attorney General for the District of Columbia in appreciation for your restorative justice program. Launched in 2016, this program continues to address the root problems of crime and conflict, offering juvenile prosecutors an alternative to traditional prosecution by bringing together victims affected by crime with those who have engaged in criminal behavior. This program has resulted in powerful outcomes. Offenders are held accountable, victims become more empowered, and the harm done to individuals and to the community at large begins to be repaired. AG Racine and the Office of the Attorney General for the District of Columbia is the first public safety agency to launch this type of program, where restorative justice specialists work alongside of prosecutors, reducing recidivism rates and supporting better outcomes for district youth. Accepting this award on behalf of Attorney General Racine is one of the office's most celebrated violence interrupters, Lashana Thompson L. Born and raised in Southeast DC, Lashana exemplifies the AG's vision of community-oriented justice, having served for 18.5 years in prison and having re-entered the community to attain her GED, then a college degree, currently pursuing a master's degree, as well as having started a nonprofit organization to support women on their re-entry journeys. Lashana is also working on the next iteration of restorative justice, bringing together victims, families, and offenders for reconciliation purposes after incarceration. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Interfaith Action for Human Rights, I am honored to present this Human Rights Hero Award to the Honorable Carl A. Racine and the Office of the Attorney General for the District of Columbia.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Lashana Thompson Neal. As you all can see, I am not AG Carl Racine. However, I'm very, very honored to be accepting this award on his behalf. And before I start, I just want to say thank you to Reverend Bennett for your wonderful prayer. And I want to honor all of the honorees for this evening. Again, tonight I'll be accepting this award on behalf of Carl Racine. And I just want to read it because it's so beautiful and I'm holding it like it's mine. And at some point I'll have to take it downtown and give it to him. But it says, Human Rights Hero, presented to Honorable Carl A. Racine and the Office of the Attorney General for DC in appreciation for your restorative justice program, October the 6th, 2021. I want to thank Rabbi Feinberg for this award. And I also want to thank you so much for all of your support and mentorship and friendship towards me. As you heard in my bio, I've been working at the DC Office of the Attorney General for 4 years now. I've had the opportunity to work in restorative justice as a restorative justice facilitator, and I currently serve as the co-chief of violence reduction at the DC Office of the Attorney General. By now, you've all heard the saying, those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. And I just, again, want to give honor to Attorney General Carl Racine for giving me the opportunity to serve at the DC Office of the Attorney General, because not only is he living up to the values of love and unity, but he's also pushing and promoting the notion that the way forward is not hate and division. As the president of the National Association for the Attorney General, Carl Racine has been recognized as a true human rights hero. He's been recognized here tonight, and I'm just deeply appreciative to be able to accept this award on his behalf. I think on behalf of all of my colleagues at the OAG, I want to thank the AG for his leadership. And I also, again, want to thank Rabbi Feinberg for your leadership, for acknowledging this program and for helping to promote awareness about this program in the community. As I listened to your annual report, I didn't hear much about all of the great work that you did, having restorative justice trainings and organizing restorative justice panels. I've learned a lot from you this year. I've learned a lot just tonight from I want to honor the Rights Behind Bars organization. I didn't even, this is the first time I've heard of them, and I was not aware that people are still being mauled by dogs in prisons. And so I'm just grateful for the work that Rabbi Feinberg does, the work that Attorney General Carl Racine does. I consider you all norm changers, and I'm very grateful for your leadership and just grateful to share this space with you. I look forward to hearing from our keynote speaker, Marcus Bullock. And again, thank you for having me this evening.
Lashana, thank you. Oh my gosh. The Attorney General couldn't have picked a better representative to come out and speak on his behalf. So thank you so much. And congratulations to you too and everything that you've accomplished. All right. My goodness, that was wonderful. Such a moving speech. And of course, congratulations to Attorney General Racine. Okay, our next presenter is Jim McCloskey. He is, I'm going to take just a second to tell you a little bit about Jim. Subsequent to graduating from Bucknell University in 1964, Jim spent 3 years as a U.S. naval officer, including a year in Vietnam, patrolling the rivers in the Mekong Delta, while serving as an advisor to the South Vietnamese Naval Junk Fleet. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal with the Combat V. He then spent the next 12 years working for 2 different management consulting companies, specializing in Japanese business affairs, the first in Tokyo and the second with the Hay Group in his hometown of Philadelphia. Now, in 1979, Jim felt a call to leave the business world and enter the ministry. In 1983, upon graduating from a Master of Divinity degree from the Princeton Theological Seminary and freeing an innocent man that he met as a student chaplain at Trenton State Prison, Jim founded Centurion Ministries. And although still a member of Centurion's Board of Trustees and still managing several cases that he's been working on for years, Jim has retired from active management of Centurion's organization. In 2015, that's when he retired, in 2015. Now, back in 1993, Jim was the recipient of Princeton Seminary Distinguished Alumnus Award. And in 2002, he was awarded an honorary doctorate of humane letters from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City. Now, currently, Jim is a member of Princeton's Nassau Presbyterian Church's session, the church's ruling body. He's also in the process of writing a book about his and Centurion's 36-year experience with our nation's criminal justice system. So after all of that, what's left, Jim?
Madeline, geez, thank you very much for that very generous introduction. I appreciate that very much. I'm honored tonight, this evening, to introduce Walter Lomax as one of this year's recipients for the IAHR Human Rights Hero Award. Walter is a man who spent 39 years falsely imprisoned for a 1967 Baltimore murder he had nothing to do with. An innocent man framed by the Baltimore City Police. Freed in 2006 by my organization, Centurion Ministries, and Baltimore City attorneys Larry Nathans and Booth Ripke, Walter wasn't fully exonerated until 2014, when the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Conviction Integrity Unit discovered suppressed exculpatory police reports that had not seen the light of day for 47 years. These documents established his actual innocence. Then 2 years ago, in October 2019, the Maryland Board of Public Works awarded Walter $3 million+ in exoneree compensation for his wrongful conviction. But that's just half the story. His incarceration began when he was 20 and ended when he was 59. Among his many accomplishments while in prison, Walter taught himself to read and write, earned a GED and a college associate's degree. He founded and was editor-in-chief of the Maryland House of Corrections monthly magazine named The Conqueror. He took creative writing classes at Towson University, tutored numerous inmates, and wrote books of poetry. A model inmate, he earned the nickname and was called by both inmates and correctional officers Mandela for his achievements within the prison walls and the dignity with which he carried himself for decades. You would think that once he was freed, the last thing in the world he would want to have anything to do with would be the criminal justice system. Not so. Through the organization he founded, the Maryland Restoration Justice Initiative, Walter has tirelessly advocated for the rights of those he left behind, innocent or guilty, parole reform, compensation for exonerees, and re-entry programs for those folks recently released, to name but a few. In February 2020, minutes before he was to testify before a Maryland Senate committee considering a bill to compensate exonerees, he collapsed. For 9.5 minutes, his heart stopped beating. It took that amount of time for a ceaseless cardiopulmonary resuscitation effort by a young state trooper and the sheriff of Frederick County, who happened to be on the scene to bring him back to life. Talk about heroes and miracles. When this compensation bill was finally passed this year, it was named the Walter Lomax Act. Walter will turn 74 this month. He is still championing the criminal justice rights of others, and at the same time, enjoying life with his son Curtis and daughter Wanda, as well as 8 grandchildren and 20-some great grandkids. Please welcome the amazing and the great Walter Lomax.
Good evening. It's always a challenge trying to follow Jim. He just does such an awesome introduction. But in the absence of Jim and my Centron family, we may very not be presenting this award tonight. And so I want to give a shout out to my Centron family, especially Kate Jermaine up there, and the dream teams, Larry Nathan, Booth Ripke, Steve Delaney, Billy Murphy, Ken Ravenel, Peter Work, and Philip and Gleamer. Those folk worked tirelessly, right, to one, make sure that I received my freedom, and two, to make sure that I was adequately compensated. But I also want to thank Rabbi Chuck Finsberg for considering me for such an award. I'm humbled and honored to be receiving it. We met some years ago, and we have worked on many important projects. He is one of the few people that I know that's really down in the trenches doing the heavy lifting. So thank you, Reverend Chuck. That's in our circle. He's known by Rabbi Chuck, put it that way, right? I'm most honored to be receiving this award with the other distinguished guests. This is truly an awesome, inspiring moment to be receiving along with such great leaders. I did have an opportunity to meet the Honorable Attorney General Carl Rice-Sand some years ago, and had a great deal of respect and admiration for the work that he's doing. So this is truly an honor. Jim has pretty much given you the highlights of my journey, so I'm not going to reiterate that history. I will say this, that I believe that we are all born with a destiny, but that we are also given free will, and that the only time the angels hold their breath is when we exercise our free will. And Lord knows they've certainly held their breath enough times in my life. But fortunately, though, it led me to the work that we are doing, which I believe is part of my destiny. I see this in the legislation we've gotten passed even with the passage of the Walter Lomax Act. I believe that I had the experiences that I did so that we could be able to accomplish the things that we had. And quoting Victor Hugo, said, "There's no greater power on earth than an idea whose time has come." And finally, another quote from Judge Motz said, "The hope and the longing for reward lie at the heart of every human endeavor. In its absence, there is no reason for anyone to do anything good." Now, I'm not sure about that particular quote, though it made sense when he made it. But because I certainly did not expect this award, nor have any of my actions been toward receiving it. However, I want to thank you for recognizing the work that we have done. And I personally am humbled and honored in receiving it. And so thank you. They told me to hold up the award. I was going to hold it up anyway to make sure that it's being seen. I'm honored and humbled for receiving it.
What an incredible journey, Walter. Oh my gosh. Congratulations to you. And that quote that you had, I'm going to read it back to you because I had to write that one down. You said, "All of us are born with a destiny, but we exercise free will, and the angels hold their breath while we exercise that freedom." And amen to that.
No, all of us are born with a destiny, but we were also given free will.
Given free will.
Yeah.
I
And the
love
only
it.
time the angels hold their breath is when we exercise our free will.
So true. So true. I know they've been waiting to excel a lot of times with me, but I made it through. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Walter. That was fantastic. And again, congratulations to you on your incredible journey.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, yes. We are so inspired by our guests like Walter and all of our honorees tonight. And we're also so happy for their success. Now, our next presenter is Perry Applebaum. He's currently serving as the staff director for the House Judiciary Committee, Democrats. Mr. Applebaum has long served as the top committee aide to ranking member John Conyers, including during the impeachment of President Clinton. He led the committee's staff during the investigation of politicization of the Bush Justice Department and the subsequent contempt of Congress proceedings against the Bush administration. Now, he's known on Capitol Hill as an expert on medical malpractice policy and intellectual property issues. Before joining that committee, Mr. Applebaum was an associate at Covington and Burling. He received his JD from Harvard Law School and attended the University of Michigan for his undergraduate degree. Got to say good evening to Perry. He's joining us now by video.
We are pleased to present a Human Rights Award to Murphy and McGonigal and one of its partners, Lionel Andre. 2 years ago, we asked Lionel to represent Shay Barrington, an incarcerated individual suffering acute sickle cell anemia. After years of patient but persistent negotiation, Lionel secured Virginia's commitment to provide ADA-compliant living conditions and adequate health care for Mr. Barrington. Lionel also obtained a commitment to ADA-compliant treatment for all incarcerated persons in Virginia who suffer from this chronic and acute incurable disease. Accepting this award are Lionel Andre and Tom McGonigal, the managing partner of Murphy and McGonigal, which has steadfastly supported Lionel's work and IAHR.
You know, it's so hard to follow someone like Walter Lomax and Carl Racine, all the honorees. Let me just say, I couldn't have done the work that I've done for Shay Barrington without the support of my managing partner, Tom McGonigal, and other members of the McGonigal team at my firm. But, you know, as a former federal prosecutor, I learned quite a bit from doing this work with Shay, and it's actually changed me to the point where, you know, I reach out to some of my former colleagues who are still prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office and told them that, you know, when you do send people to prison, just you got to remember what happens to them once they leave and go to their facilities. And what I have found was incredibly, inhumane treatment of prisoners that I was not aware of. I always assumed that once I did my job as a federal prosecutor, the Bureau of Prisons would take care of the inmates. But I've learned quite a bit from Shea Barrington. He's a true fighter. I mean, he's been fighting for years with the Virginia Department of Corrections. So it was just a learning experience. That Shea has been a tireless advocate for sickle cell inmates in Virginia. He taught me a lot, and he educated me, which then helped me educate the Virginia Department of Corrections leadership. And I'll say I found them to be very cooperative. And we always talk about how the government can be insensitive, but in this particular case, I was very fortunate that the person that I worked with at Virginia Department of Corrections is very compassionate and understood the problem, and she was very instrumental in helping us find some peace for Shea Barrington. And I'm pleased to announce that he was in maximum security, but he has, based on his condition, his health condition, has been moved to a minimum security facility now, and his family is very happy, and he's seemed to have found some peace, and I think he has about 7 more years left to his sentence, and I think he's going to be they're going to take much better care of him now, and he hasn't had any reason to call me or write me on JPay for a while, so I assume that everything's going well, but I do periodically check up on him to make sure everything is going well. And I want to thank IAHR for the award. It's much appreciated, and the work will continue. We will continue to support IAHR in all its endeavors. So I thank everyone on behalf of Murphy and McGonigal. I thank everyone for the award. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight our keynote speaker, Marcus Bullock. Marcus Bullock is an entrepreneur, justice reform advocate, and published speaker. Following his 2004 release from prison and running a successful construction business, Marcus launched Flickshop, an app that enables incarcerated people to receive personalized postcards from their families, building community and decreasing recidivism. He also founded Flickshop School of Business, which teaches returning citizens life skills and entrepreneurship. He is a Techstars alumnus and was selected as one of the Roots 2019 100 most influential African Americans in the US. Shortly after, Bullock was named a 2020 Halcyon Incubator Fellow. Marcus is a member of the Justice Policy Institute Board of Directors, an advisory board member for Princeton University Prison Teaching Initiative, and an advisor to the Georgetown University Madonna School of Business and Aspen's Institute Opportunity Youth Incentive Fund. Married to a queen with 2 children, Bullock's story has received coverage from Forbes, CNN, Washington Post, Black Enterprise, and NPR. Please join me and give a virtual welcome to Marcus Bullock.
Like I'm like super hype, like I'm like my own super hype man. I'm super grateful to be able to be here. Good evening, everyone. One of the reasons I'm super excited to be here because I still can't believe that this is my life. I'm so blessed to be able to travel around the world and meet so many incredible people, like the amazing honorees that receive such incredible awards this evening. I get a chance to learn from so many of you leaders and honorees, and I love that your work is being celebrated this evening this way. You leaders continue to support and inspire me and my family with your work. With your prayers. Some of you even use our products. And one of the things I love the most is that you are giving people like me space to share and educate. This is such a dope moment. Thank you, Rabbi Chuck Feinberg, Kimberly Jenkins Snodgrass for that amazing intro. It's so weird always hearing my bio, but I'm so grateful for you, and the entire team at IAHR for inviting me here this evening. In fact, this is the point of my talk that I'm going to give you all the permission to give me your divided attention tonight. I want to make room for you to grab your phones and to tweet to me or tag me on Facebook or Instagram if you hear something tonight that resonates with you or that someone else needs to hear. Sometimes you amazing honorees don't get the opportunity to see the long-term residual results of supporting someone like me. And I honestly believe that real impact and change comes from our dinner table conversations and our Twitter accounts too. But I'm taking a moment during this celebration to just thank you for your work and in helping us build solutions that will impact the world for years to come. Now, I'm extremely passionate, as you can see, about the work that we all do together. And before I talk about why I'm so passionate, I'll cut to the end of the story and I'll tell you about the technology that we built. Now, there was a slight intro about it, but our technology, Flickshop, allows our users the ability to take a picture, add some quick text, press send, and for 99 cents, we print that picture and text on a real tangible postcard, and we ship it to any person in any cell anywhere in the country. Now, I get excited about what it is that we're building here. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is because of my own personal experience. I'll tell you firsthand that when I was a 15-year-old kid in my sophomore year of high school, my best friend and I, we made one of the worst decisions that we could have ever made. I was a sophomore, he was a junior, and we carjacked a man in a shopping mall parking lot in Fairfax, Virginia. Now, that carjacking landed me and Dwayne in front of a judge the very next day in handcuffs. And just a few months later, without making bond and sitting in jail, I was eventually sentenced to 8 years in adult maximum securities prisons for that carjacking. Yeah, I mean, and so one of the interesting things about that part of the journey when Dwayne and I was arrested and we got sentenced, we got put in front of a judge, we get sentenced to this 8 years. I'm 15 years old in my sophomore year of high school, and I really even can't believe what was happening to me at that time. In fact, I just couldn't understand the legal ramifications of what was going on. And it wasn't until 2 years later, while I'm inside of these prison cells, where I meet my best friend, Danny B, who was in his mid-50s. Now, the interesting thing about prison is that that's one of the only places you can be like 17 years old, but also have one of your best friends in their mid-50s. And Danny B and I were walking around the track every day. I'm absorbing his wisdom. He's always so interested in how this teenage kid wants to run around the rec yard and play these games and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, dude, you need to chill. And I'm asking him, I'm like, well, Danny B, I get it. You jumping all these jewels on me. How long have you been in here? And Danny B had told me that he had served 31 years. Now, I lived in complete oblivion to what the judge had told me, even though he told me I was going to have to serve 8 years in maximum security prisons. By the time I got shipped to a prison at Brunswick Correctional Center or Southampton Correctional Center, or even Greensville Correctional Center, in between any of those, I honestly didn't even understand that. I didn't understand the magnitude of it. So I really believed that I was going to come home one day. When Danny Brown told me that he had served 31 years, it assured me that I was going to have to serve all 8 of my years inside of those cells. I'm 17 years old. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this new life and this new journey that I'm on. And I became very angry. I became very depressed. I was upset with everybody. I was angry with myself. I was angry with my lawyer. I was angry with the judge. I was angry with my mom. I was angry with my sister. I was angry with the COs. I was angry with all of the people that lived in my housing unit. And all I wanted to do was figure out a way for my 17-year-old self to just scream and burst, because I knew that for the next 6 years of my life, there will be no more prom. There will be no more ideas of a high school graduation. All of those ideas of dreams of going to a Division I college, they were all gone. They were fleeting in a moment where I was the youngest person on the prison rec yard, with my cell partner having life plus 43 years. And him crying and telling me that, Marcus, one day I'm probably going to die looking at cinder block walls. I'm sharing all of this pain and frustration and anguish with my mom. And I'm telling my mom, Mom, just start grieving for me now. There's no reason why you should have to be compelled to come and visit me inside of these facilities and get strip searched and pat down and have to accept these $18, 15-minute collect calls, driving 3 to 4 hours to sit with me for only 1 hour, knowing that the longest hug that we can have is only 10 seconds, because if we hug anything longer than this, CEO is going to come and rip us apart and terminate our visit and potentially tell me that you can't come and visit me again for another 6 more months. Start grieving for me, ma'am. My mom listens to me as I'm on this collect call telling her this. She says in a typical mother fashion, I'll be there this weekend. My mom comes and visits me that same weekend, and as she's sitting across the table from me in the visiting room with a bag of quarters and a honey bun, because I love honey buns every time I walk in the visiting room, she made a promise to me while sitting across that table and said, Marcus, you've lost your mind if you think that I'm letting you go to this prison culture. There's no way that I don't care what decisions you made, I'm going to love on you all the way through the end of this. In fact, for the next 6 years, from now on, I'm going to write you a letter, or I'm going to send you a picture every day until you come home. Now I'm sitting across the table in the visiting room for my mom, and I'm looking at her and I'm listening to her think about how these new photos are going to save my life. I'm like, yeah, Ma, you don't understand. When you get back in your car and you drive down the highway and you roll the window down and you feel the breeze blowing through your hair, I'm gonna have to go through those double doors and get patted down. And I'm probably gonna have to squat and cough. And that's something that you just won't understand. And my mom looks at me with watery eyes, knowing that she can't do anything to save her only teenage son. And she says, I still love you, and I'm going to do exactly what I said. My mom ends up writing me these letters and sending me these photos of the most interesting things. She would send me pictures of a cheeseburger or a mattress from a department store with a long 4-page letter talking about, Marcus, one day you're going to enjoy a fat, juicy burger when you come home. One day you're going to sleep on a pillow top mattress. And I want you to understand that there's life after prison. I will not allow for you to give up your psyche in this moment. I couldn't believe that my mom was making this kind of love, this commitment to consistency, because I ain't never done nothing for 6 years straight except for time. And my mom was writing these letters. And in fact, the interesting thing was that all of my friends who lived in those housing units with me, who became my brothers in that space, they began to live vicariously through my mother's letters and photos, because in prison, there's no easy internet. There's no Facebook or Instagram or easy texting or emailing. And so all of these moments of or micro doses of love don't even get caught up in these cells. But when my name gets called every day at 4 p.m. at mail call, something happens. Folks are looking at my photos. And in fact, my mom loves to tell the story of the first time that she realized when she came in the visiting room that others were looking at some of her photos. And then somebody, hey, Miss Bullock, how you doing? They're like, how you know me? I'm doing. And they're like, oh, did you get your washing machine and dryer fixed? They're like, how do you know about my washing machine and dryer? I'm like, Mom, don't even worry about it. Like, you send me a picture of a washing machine and dryer. One dude said he used to work for Kenmore. One guy told my Maytag is the best. Just go with it. She's like, okay, how y'all doing? I'm working on getting my dryer fixed. And all the way through the entire prison sentence, my mom sends me this amazing mail. Now, the interesting thing, in 2004, when I came home, after serving almost a decade in prison and not even be able to explain why I've been for the last almost decade, I'm 23 years old. My last grade complete is the 9th grade, and all I want to do is be able to try to find a job. All of the jobs, including all 41 of them that had the question on the application that asked me, had I ever been convicted of a felony, all told me no. It wasn't until the 42nd job application that asked the question, have you been convicted of a felony, within the last 7 years? Now, after serving an 8-year prison sentence, I was able to honestly say, absolutely not. I have not been convicted of a felony within the last 7 years. And then finally, that one paint store gave me my first job. I went from being a guy who was just hoping and wishing, sitting in the cell, to now going to work every day mixing paint. And interestingly enough, there were customers that would come into the paint store and they would ask me, because of my jovial and excited, way that I will present myself, Marcus, how much do you charge to paint kitchens? And I will tell them, Miss Johnson, well, we don't paint kitchens. We sell you the paint so you can paint your own kitchen. And then the other painters will come into the paint store and they will complain about it not being any work because it was the mid 2005 era of this new apparent housing bubble that was going to burst. And now folks were laying people off in the construction businesses. I couldn't understand this. A light bulb went off in my head and I became the conduit between the Ms. Johnsons of the world and those painters. And they became my clients. Eventually, I started Perspectives Painting Contractors that became the company that would connect the painters to the Ms. Johnsons and paint their living rooms for a discounted rate. Over time, we grew this small painting business into a full construction firm. And then I finally landed a massive contract through the Maryland Aviation Administration at BWI Airport. And that contract changed my life. Despite the fact that I couldn't even walk on side of the job because I couldn't get a Homeland Security TSA badge and had to hire someone to be able to escort me around my own project as the CEO simply because I had a felony conviction, I was also able to hire 18 other team members where the other 16 had felony convictions just like me. It was an incredible opportunity, and I went from the job seeker to now the job giver as we began to grow this construction business that allowed for me to have now new opportunities and new experiences, meeting incredible people and traveling the world. As I travel the world and my best friends that are calling me home collected like, Marcus, you out there living your best life, bro. I can't believe you went home and made it. Hey, yo, bro, you have to send me some pictures. Do you not remember when your mother used to send you pictures and write you letters when you were in here with us? Please send us some pictures. And I will promise them over and over again, I got to send pictures. But it was so hard to do it. And I told them all the time, if I could just send you something directly from my phone, because all my pictures live on Instagram and Facebook, and I promise you I will connect, there has to be an easy way to be able to make this happen. I Googled, wait a minute. There's no app to help you with this? I mean, there's an app to help me get my coffee quicker. Clearly, there has to be a solution for it. We pull a bunch of cash out of my construction company. I put together a small tech team, and we build what later became FlickShop. Now, since we've launched FlickShop, we've connected over 170,000 families around the country. We've shipped almost 680,000 postcards into jails, prisons, juvenile detention centers, and now even ICE detention centers in all 50 states. We've even launched the FlickShop School of Business, where we go back into some of the same prisons where I was housed and teach classes around entrepreneurship to be able to help give pathways in the new economy of digital inclusion so that folks are not getting boxed out of opportunities that are waiting for them well before they come home. And I'm so excited about what we're building with FlickShop Angels, which are giving our community the opportunity to band with us and purchase FlickShop credits that we give to children with incarcerated parents so that they can send their mom and dad as many funny face selfies as they want completely for free. We're excited about what our FlickShop Angels are doing, and we're excited about all of you that are becoming FlickShop Angels to be able to help expand our community and grow in all of the love and empathy that it's going to take in order to completely reduce recidivism. You know, at this stage of my life, I can't believe how blessed I am to be a part of such an incredible movement to help reduce recidivism. Sometimes I'm blessed enough to meet people who have used FlickShop to connect with their incarcerated parents. And other times I get a chance to meet with some of the amazing honorees that are here tonight, and I'm even able to address the country from the White House and talk about the need for criminal justice reform. Now, this is a blessing because this was not always my story. God is so great because I can't help but to share about those days that I can remember very vividly, living in a 6-foot by 9-foot cell with a 22-year-old man that was there to serve life plus 43 years, and thinking that it was a high probability that we would both die in those same cells. Now, I'm grateful that today, Kyrie, that person that sat in that cell with me, he made parole just a couple of years ago after serving 25 years, and we're able to celebrate in a very different environment. And I'm super grateful that moments like tonight, I'm able to say thank you to all of you at IAHR and your entire team, and salute the amazing honorees tonight, because I can't wait to see what you all will do in this next season of your amazing careers. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Wow. Wow, what an incredible story, Marcus. I'm sitting here just enthralled listening to you. Your energy is incredible. There was no way you could stay down. So God bless you. Thank you for blessing your friends that you left behind and creating this opportunity for them. What a story. So proud.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you all.
Gosh.
Thank you so much, Madeline.
Yes. I don't know where to go from there. That was just, it took me by surprise. It's one of those things that you get to listen to just, like you're eavesdropping in on a blessing from God. You just get to sit there and witness it and listen to it. And it was incredible. So congratulations, Marcus. You guys know that we're almost at the end, and like all good things, we have saved the very best for last. It's time to present the Suzanne Ohatnick Award. Now, just to give you a little background, this is the award that the highest Interfaith Action for Human Rights Award. It is the highest Interfaith Action for Human Rights Award of recognition. It's given to a previous or current board member who has modeled exemplary service while being a board member of IAHR. This year's recipient of the Suzanne Ohatnick Award is Gay Gardner. Now, Gay, a few people who know you and love you got together to talk about you. So you just sit back and enjoy this video because they got a lot to say. Let's roll that video.
I'm an only child, so she was very attentive and involved, but also, I knew from an early age she had this whole other commitment to this work that she does. So my mother is an excellent writer and an excellent editor, so she was a wonderful resource for me in school to have when I was writing papers, but also at times frustrating because she was so demanding. It is a wonderful thing to live near my mother and have her be so close to my children and so involved with them. It was something. Her mother passed away when I was very small, and an opportunity that I missed out on, and I'm so happy for her that she has this opportunity, and it's been a lovely thing to see her as a grandmother. When my mother is mentioned in the Washington Post or there's a major headline about a topic that I know she's done a lot of hard work on, it gives me a lot of pride, and it's one day when she was watching my children, Teresa Vargas from the Washington Post was over at my house doing an interview and collecting information from her. So it's also wonderful to know that the media view her as a valuable source for this topic. My mother has retired many times, but it seems as though the work only increases. I definitely see my mother as a catalyst for ending solitary confinement in Virginia. Just knowing her dedication and the tireless work she puts in, I don't see it stopping until the mission is complete, Mom. Congratulations, Mom.
Congratulations, Granny.
In high school, when she was a debater and had to debate pro or con on the Vietnam War, she got the pro side, but in preparing for that debate, she became aware of the human rights issues, and I believe it's that point where she began her long journey through the human rights world and all of her work. She started in Amnesty International in a local group and also as a country specialist in Uruguay. And then when she had restored democracy to Uruguay, she moved on to Central America and worked primarily in El Salvador on the tribunal that was trying war criminals there. And that attracted the attention of people who worked on the former Yugoslavia. And so she went to work on the former Yugoslavia. Certainly when she started, I had some concerns about her correspondence with incarcerated individuals, but as she corresponded more and more, those concerns were no longer important. And I realized what she's doing is building such a useful database of information, because the corrections officials always tend to say that a prisoner is not telling the truth when they tell her something. But when she can counter that with, well, I have 25 letters telling me the same thing, it becomes much more difficult for them to dismiss. I think it's great that Gay is receiving this award. Certainly, I can't think of anyone who deserves it more. I see how much time and effort she puts into her work on behalf of prisoners in Virginia. And it's more than a full-time job. Sometimes I think it's 2 full-time jobs. And she's been able to do so much to end solitary confinement in Virginia and to help the incarcerated people. It's very wonderful to see her getting this acknowledgement of all of her hard work. Congratulations, Gay. Through Gay's work, other allegations of mistreatment and of human rights abuses have been revealed to us. And these abuses have extended to being in solitary for months and sometimes years, to being attacked by dogs. Most importantly, Gay has been a source of hope for both men and women in the state of Virginia prison system. She has been an ear to people so that they feel that they have been heard. Even if we weren't able to help them directly, just by the fact that there was someone ready to listen to them and to validate their allegations and their concerns has been a source of great hope to many, many people, both men and women in the Virginia system.
Miss Gardner, oh my God, man. I hadn't seen her not one time with my eyes, but she was such a blessing to me. You know, the self-help litigation manual, the little support, you know, when I told her about getting beat up by the police, you know, just knowing that she was there, you know, to have my back, you know, because originally I felt like I was just lost in cyberspace somewhere, you know, like nobody knew where I was, nobody had my back, I didn't have no support. I really felt like I wasn't never gonna make it out of there, even though I was just doing a little 5 years. I felt like I was gonna catch another case or something like that. So it was nice. Miss Gardner writing me letters, she yelled at me a couple times. You know, she was like my mom in there, you know.
Good evening, friends. It's such a pleasure to be with you this evening via Zoom. It is my great pleasure tonight to be able to provide the Suzanne O'Hatnick Award to Gay Gardner, a co-founder with me of Interfaith Action for Human Rights. And last year, Gay presented me with this award. So it's both an honor, a pleasure, truly a delight to be able to offer the award to her this year. By 2014, it seemed clear that it was time for us to incorporate in order to be more effective at the state level. And Gay became our first secretary of the board, doing a wonderful job, and continued until all of us eventually rotate off the board of directors. And Gay is, as I mentioned before, is the senior advisor for Virginia for Interfaith Action for Human Rights, or IAHR. But it's not just advising that she does. She corresponds, she has an email list of 200 people who are in prison in Virginia with whom she corresponds. And she regularly corresponds with 50 to 60 of them at any given time. That in itself is remarkable, but it's not the only thing that she does. Actually, it was through some of this correspondence she discovered that they were using attack dogs in Virginia in prisons. And she has been instrumental in the work to draft legislation to ban that, to pass a law to ban the use of attack dogs. Not only that, she's working with another group of Muslim advocates looking at alleged allegations of abuse of Muslim prisoners in Virginia, and that is proceeding also. So as you can see, and I've just touched on some of the things that Gay has done, is doing, and who knows what she will do. But she is, as I said, a remarkable leader, and we are so blessed to have her with us at Interfaith Action for Human Rights. So it is a great honor it is also a pleasure to present this award to Gay Gardner. Thank you.
Wow. First, I have to thank the Board of Interfaith Action for Human Rights for honoring me with this award. It's really quite humbling to be in the presence of all the other amazing honorees this evening. Thank you, Kimberly, for that astounding video, for your hard work on this event, and in service on the IAHR board. And thank you, Suzanne, for your kind words, for having the vision that produced this wonderful organization, and for inviting me to be with you from the beginning of this adventure. I want to give special thanks to my wonderful husband, William, and daughter, Kate, for their forbearance and support during all these years of my human rights activism. No one could ask for a better partner than William, an unsung hero who is everything from my IT consultant to my personal gourmet chef, in addition to being a patient sounding board, a wise advisor and problem solver, and an exemplary dad and grandpa. Finally, though, I'm accepting this award on behalf of the many men and women in Virginia prisons, like Michael, on the video, like Che Barrington, like Kimberly's son, Kevin, and so many, many others who have trusted me with their personal stories, and those who provided credible information that enabled us to shine a light on the daily assault on human dignity that is life in our prisons. They've given me and Interfaith Action for Human Rights a window into their world that has made our advocacy possible. And that includes exposing the use of attack dogs that have seriously and unnecessarily injured incarcerated people. It includes exposing bigoted treatment of Muslims and neglect of people in our prisons who are wheelchair bound or deaf, blind, or plagued by chronic conditions such as sickle cell anemia and mental illness. Those who have shared their stories with me have taught me, an old, privileged, and sheltered white lady, so very much. Yes, they must be held accountable for their mistakes and transgressions, but each of them is a unique human being with hopes, dreams, regrets, and potential. None of them deserves to be defined by the worst thing they've ever done, just as each one of us is so much more than the worst thing we've ever done. Without the information they've provided, we in the advocacy world would be stumbling in the dark. So to all of the men and women who have helped us really see you, this is for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gay. No one does it better. Congratulations to you. Thank you for all your good work, your hard work all the time. You deserve it. You deserve this and so much more. Congratulations. And that, my friends, concludes our evening. We'd like to congratulate all of our honorees again and thank all of them for the inspirational and selfless hard work that they put in day after day in the fight for justice and humanity in the prison system. I'd like to thank the Interfaith Action for Human Rights Executive Director, Rabbi Chuck Feinberg, and Board Chair Kimberly Jenkins Snodgrass for creating such a lovely evening. With all the tech problems, it was still such a great event, so uplifting and so feel good. So thank you to both of you. And our thanks to all of you at home for watching and joining us again. We really hope to see you live and in person in 2022. So stay well, be safe. And now we're going to close out our evening with Rabbi Jeffrey Sachs. Now, Rabbi Sachs was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's ordained by Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in New York with a Wexner Graduate Fellowship. He joined the clergy team at Temple Rodolph Shalom in 2007. Rabbi Sachs is deeply involved in social justice work that seeks to pursue Jewish values in our efforts at Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. An important part of Rabbi Sachs's social justice work is centered on building interfaith relationships and acting together and acting yet together with others on local and national issues. He's active in the Greater Washington Muslim Jewish Forum, and he served on the strategy team for Voice. That's an interfaith social justice group in Northern Virginia. Currently, Rabbi Sachs co-chairs Voice's working group on criminal justice reform in Fairfax County. He served on national committees for the Central Conference of American Rabbis, focused on immigration advocacy, Israel, and writing the new edition of the Rabbi's Manual. Rabbi Sachs is also passionate about bringing Jewish teachings into our everyday lives. He's brought to TRS the introspective practice of Musar, in which small groups study Jewish texts with the purpose of cultivating positive character traits such as humility and patience and gratitude. Also, an ordained cantor, he plays guitar and writes musical settings of prayers in the Jewish service. He lives in Falls Church with his wife, Jamie, and children, Shoshana, Aaron, and Jonah. And with a bio like that, it's only fitting that Rabbi Sachs leads us out now in prayer. So welcome, Rabbi Sachs. Take it away.
Thank you, Madeline. And thank you, Rabbi Feinberg, and all the presenters and honorees who have inspired us so much today. God, we call you by many names. God of justice, God of compassion, God of judgment and of love. We turn and return to you, and you wait for us and welcome us. Just as we see ourselves as created in your image, just as we look for your image in others, we seek to follow your example of compassion, of judgment that is fair and just, and of love. Be our source of guidance and courage as we face our failures and individuals as a society, the ways in which we come up short in treating all people as good, all creation as worthy of blessing, in fulfilling our task of honoring every person. Help us reach out our hands with love and protect those who are vulnerable from harm. Help us to use our power for health and healing, not for cruelty or needless suffering. Imbue us with the wisdom and understanding of the needs of other people and the humility to find the good in them. Bless the work of our hands and strengthen the hands of those who are fighting for justice and mercy in this nation and in the world.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi. That's going to do it for us. Again, thank you to everyone for joining us for the 2021 third annual Interfaith Action Human Rights Celebration event. We'll be back next year, and we hope you will too. Good night, everybody.
Hi, it's Ed Koff again. I'd like to thank you for being here with us tonight, and I'd also like to remind you that you can help us meet our goal of raising $20,000 by going to interfaithactionhr.org and hitting donate. We're getting close to making our goal, so any amount, however small or however large, will be greatly appreciated.